Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen and welcome back to my channel. Over at Hero Arts, we are celebrating Color Week this week, and this video is in relation to my blog post that I have a color focus on Spicy Mustard, which is a brand new ink color. They have also released other new colors, new cardstock, and reinkers. I will have more information about that over on my blog. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video where I have a special limited time offer for you. My video today focuses on Spicy Mustard, which is a brand new color, and if you are looking for the perfect yellow, this is it. This is a beautiful yellow. I kind of compare it to like a sunflower color, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Here's a look at the ink pad itself, which you may notice also had a makeover on the colors. So all the cover tops are going to be uniform across the entire line. To highlight this color, I thought it would be best to use it in a stencil. So this is the large flower stencil that I placed over the top of some Deluxe white cardstock, using my Art Stay-tion to hold my stencil over my cardstock. I'm using a medium blending brush to blend on this Spicy Mustard color all over the front of the cardstock. This piece of cardstock measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I want to start by just adding a light layer of color. You can see by just doing a light layer, so I'm blending very light-handed, we have a beautiful soft yellow. Now what I want to do is deepen the edges of this. I do plan on trimming this down, so I'm going to go in quite a ways, and you can see as I add more color, we're getting more of that kind of spicy mustard or that deeper tone of yellow. I'm going to leave the center kind of more of that lighter color, remove the stencil, and now I'm going to bring in that blending brush again and blend over the top of that just to kind of soften those stark white lines. I tap off a lot of that excess ink because I don't want a ton of color. I just want to lighten those white lines a little bit. I'm going to trim this panel down using my rectangle infinity die, and I'm able to kind of pick and choose where I want this. So I centered that flower as best as I could and ran that through my die cut machine. The stamp sets that I'll be using today is the Color Layering Monarch for the sentiment and the Sweet as Honey for that chubby little bee. I have not used these little guys in a while, and I thought it would be really cute with my yellow background. So I took this chubby bee, lined it up on Deluxe white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp this down using my intense black ink. And I'm going to stamp it twice to make sure I really have those dark lines filled on the body of the bee. I'm going to just take my heat tool and quickly go over it with some heat to help dry that ink because I want to do some Copic coloring and I don't want the ink to smear. Now I'm bringing in some alcohol markers, and these are the new Olo markers that are going to be coming out soon. I had a couple colors and one of the sets is yellow, so I brought that in to color in my bee and then used my BG11 to do the wings. I trimmed this piece of cardstock down to a thin strip, lined up the coordinating die, held it down with a low tack tape, and then I'm bringing in my Hero Arts compact cutter, and I'm going to run my little bee through my die cut machine. I'm going to set my sweet little bee off on the side, and I'm going to bring in my panel that I had trimmed down, and I brought in the sentiment from the Color Layering Monarch stamp set. I lined that up on the front of the card in my Misti tool, brought in the bee as just a placeholder, and then once I have the sentiment lined up straight, I can move the bee, pick up the sentiment with the door of my Misti, and stamp this down in that intense black ink again, and I am going to stamp it twice just to make sure I have complete coverage. Off screen, I trimmed down a piece of double-sided foam sheets to fit just a little bit smaller than my panel, so I can place that behind my blended panel. And this is just going to give us a little bit of dimension to the front of the card. Now, I want to add some splatters to this, but I don't want to get it over my sentiment. So I'm just masking that off with a piece of Post-it notes. And then I'm bringing to my surface here white and gold Glimmer metallic ink, just adding a couple drops. I'm also going to bring in a couple drops of water for each one. And I'm going to add the splatters to the background with a paintbrush. I love adding splatters, and you can get fine and larger splatters to your background. To start with, I'm going to do fine splatters using that gold mixture. So I'm adding it to an acrylic block, and then I'm going to flick this off of the block onto the background. If you want bigger splatters, you would just tap your paintbrush with, which I'll show you with the white Glimmer metallic ink. So here I'm going to bring in that white Glimmer metallic, add it to my acrylic block, flick this onto the background, and then for the larger splatters, I'm just going to pick up some more of that ink and just tap my paintbrush. So depending on what size of splatters you want, will change up the technique of how you add them. I'll remove the Post-it note and then quickly heat this with my heat tool just to dry those splatters. I'm going to add this to an A2 size card panel, so I'll remove the backing of that double-sided foam sheet and add this to the front, just making sure my margins are even all the way around. I had some leftover pieces of that double-sided foam sheet, so I trimmed them down to fit behind my bee, remove the backing, and I'm going to add this to the front of the card using my reverse tweezers. I couldn't resist adding a little bit of bling to this, so I found some sequins in the Winter Sequins mix, and I'm adding them around the bee and down below the sentiment. I'm going to attach them with my Hero Arts liquid glue and a jewel picker. And then I'm going to fill in the center of those sequins using some white liquid pearls. These have a beautiful shine to them. So that's going to finish off my card project for you today, featuring that spicy mustard ink. Like I said, it is the perfect yellow ink. If you have been in search of a yellow, this is it. Now, with the release of some new ink colors, there are some ink pads that have been retired. There are some also name changes among the current ink line, and Hero Arts has come out with the Core Ink Pad Index labels. So you could say that their ink pads have kind of had a makeover. When you buy any 6 core ink pads or pad plus the inker bundles, you will get a free pack of those index labels, which if you are an organizing fanatic like me, you are going to love that deal. I have tons more information over on my blog, so be sure to head over there and check that out, and at the Hero Arts website. All of my supplies used today will be listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have an amazing day.